Hi, this is Kiana Miner. Welcome to the Crazy Courage webinar where we are busting success myths and learning how to live more courageously. I am so excited because today we have with us Lori Hamann. Lori is a life and business coach. She's one of the best manifesting experts that I've come across. She works with entrepreneurs and creatives who really want to get synced up with their success goals and create the abundance that they deserve. So I know that we're going to get a lot out of this conversation today. Welcome, Lori.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for having me. It's awesome to be here.
Awesome.
Excited for our talk today.
Awesome. So excited to have you here. So, Lori, I think we should just dive right on in. And I would just love to hear what courage has meant for you in your life, especially in your journey to establish the career that you have today.
Yeah, I think I probably have a lot to say about that. That I see that quote floating around. She built her wings on the way down, and I feel like that's the story of my life, And back in 1997, 98 or something, I took the leap and I said, I guess I'm going to be a coach, and didn't go cold turkey. And I was working as a social worker and I had gotten my master's degree in counseling. And, I just said, I'm going to leap. And my husband was like, coach, are they going to pay you for that? And I was like, yes. Yes, they are. And from that time, I just did whatever I needed to do to keep leaping and keep building my wings on the way down. And I got really good at experimenting. And so courage for me has been all about that, just willingness to take the leap. And it was all about me finding my inner alignment and then be willing to leap, be willing to experiment, and not get so tied up in the blocks and the mind and the belief systems that are that like to pulse through your mind and hold you back. So there's a lot of personal work that I did over the last 17 years or something as a coach, and courage to me has been everything. And I didn't always take it as such, but it was that. So.
I love how you talk about the inner work that it takes to take those leaps of faith, because a lot of times it is the inner work. It's the belief systems that we have to change. It's who we think we are that we have to change. Talk about some of the beliefs you had beforehand that you kind of had to, redirect in order to become who you wanted to be.
Oh my gosh, lots of them. This is glaring. And this is brutally, grossly honest, but it was, they won't like me.
Okay.
Another one makes me want to cry a little bit. Other ones that shortly followed after were, I don't have what it takes. I'm not smart enough. I don't have that special sauce. I'm not XYZ enough. And so it really came down to enoughness, and I had to do work on that. And I don't ever think that that's a journey that we stop or that we fully succeed at. I think it's always, we're always finding our worth and finding our worth and finding our worth and coming back home to who we are. And it's my job too, even though I'm teaching that. That's my work as a person, is to come back into my worthiness. And I remember I was 28, and I had sent off my very first article to the worldwide net,
Right.
It was going off into cyberspace, and I was I was just shaking. And I had oh gosh, it's I knew the number last week, but I had 41 people on my email list or something like that.
Okay.
And my very first article was entitled Tapping into the Flow of Prosperity. And that was when I was 28. And I just shook. And every time I went to hit the send button, I thought I was going to throw up.
Right.
It was crazy. It was just crazy courage.
I love it.
seriously, I thought I was gonna puke, and I don't think I don't think that I got rid of that for a long time.
Okay.
And I had to develop some beliefs like, if they like me, cool. If they don't, it's okay. We're just not a match. And I started, my mom and I would have conversations about this, and I started saying, I am not my clicks. I am not my opens. I am not my responses. I am not any of that. I'm just a channel for the work. That's it.
Wow. Those are some great internet entrepreneur affirmations because you get so caught up in that. You're like, well, who's watching and who's liking it? And,
No.
yeah, it's so easy.
Yeah, and it's almost like you've got to work against the brainwashing that says you've got to, you know, and I'm like, well, you can pay attention,
Right.
but don't let it rule you. Let your mind and your ego do its job, but let your heart do your work.
Right.
And stay centered, stay clear every single day. And that actually, becoming a coach and developing this practice that I have now has developed me more than, well, I had 4 kids, so that developed me.
Right, yeah.
Understand. But practice and becoming an entrepreneur has developed me more than anything in my life. And I always say to the entrepreneurs I work with, it's like your business is an extension of you. It's kind of like just your arm. There's your business. It's an extra arm.
Right.
And you're growing an extra appendage, and it's part of who you are, and it's got your resonance and your energy and your vibration all over it. And you've got to keep that clear, but it starts with you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my best ever was on myself through my business. Yeah.
Okay. I definitely think personal transformation is like huge when you're an entrepreneur and when you're in business for yourself.
Yeah.
And it's so funny you said that one of your biggest fears was they won't like me, because I actually have a story about that as I'm working on this webinar. I feel like we're so in sync, but I was working on this webinar, and one of my speakers who we were confirmed, and I was gonna interview her tomorrow, and she emailed me. It was just a short email. Won't be able to make it on the call. Sorry, thanks, her name. And I was just like, I was like really disappointed, and I thought it must be because she doesn't like me. Like, it just came up out of nowhere. It must be because, and it could have been for like a number of reasons. Eventually, I found out she had an unexpected personal issue that came up. But I mean, that's like the first thing that came up for me. Like, oh my gosh, it must be me. And I think it's so important to kind of clear that stuff out, because it really can cloud your judgment, or not necessarily your judgment, but cloud you as far as the steps that you should take in your business and hold you back. So what are some of the things you do to stay clear so that those thoughts don't creep back up for you?
I have a couple ways that I think about that. I mean, as you're talking about it, I just want to like make the point, and I think through my eyes, entrepreneurs are really imaginative. They're very creative. And so we have the ability to be fantastic storytellers, and we can do stuff, and so I think you have to I have had to help myself recognize when it's a story. And it's a story that it's coming from my own negative worthiness, if I'm in that funk, that lack of self-worth. And I have to say, okay, this is a story, and I'm not going to attach stuff to it that I do not know for sure. Okay. So Byron Katie's work, the work, is something that's really powerful for me, because the one question, is it true, absolutely can annihilate it for me. Okay. So it just like interrupts the anchor. So if I can get there and be conscious enough to say, I'm in a little bit of pain right now. I don't like how I feel, so therefore I must be out of alignment. What's that about? I'm really good at noticing that I don't feel good. And when I don't feel good, I have to go, oh yeah, because I got that email and someone did show up, and I'm attaching stuff to it. So is it true? It just interrupts the pattern. And there's some brain science that I could tell you about too that keeps us hooked in those patterns, that we have to on purpose unhook from them and create new patterns of thought. There's some brain science, but that's a whole nother talk. But is it true is important and notice when you're on a down spiral, because, do you ever notice that maybe she didn't like me, and that one thought seems to attract a whole bunch of cousins at the door who want to participate in that conversation. And I always say the cousins show up for dinner, and it's she didn't like me, but then it's this whole downfall of, yeah, and by the way, you're not real smart.
Right.
And by the way, you kind of good lately. By the way,
It's so true though. Yeah, yeah, it's true because it just starts coming and you really do. Yeah, like I found myself having to be like, wait a minute, I have no idea why she canceled. Why, like why am I going down? But they do. They start coming in fast. And it's like, well, that email you sent wasn't very good, and I don't know about your website.
You're going back, you're looking at your emails, you're second guessing yourself, and I'm just like, okay, so when the one cousin shows up at the door, you've got to catch it. You have to be, and I'm always talking about conscious creating. You don't create, you're creating on purpose, deliberately. That means you're paying attention to how you're feeling and what you're thinking, and mostly really how you're feeling. Do I feel bad? Am I resonating in love or fear? And if I'm resonating in thoughts that are abundant and loving and good to me, and I'm basking in my worth, then I'm probably not going to be too interrupted when that one thought comes in, that I'm not good enough thought. Like, I'll be able to stay in the abundance camp versus dive into fear, and that's just a fear down spiral. So we entrepreneurs have to be willing to be conscious enough to interrupt ourselves. And if we can't interrupt ourselves, we got to get on the phone with your friend who can interrupt yourself, or have a coach who can interrupt you, or something, because we get so stuck and can't see our own stuff. So
I definitely agree with that. What does this have to do with the law of attraction? I know you deal a lot with the law of attraction. When we're in that downward spiral, are we actually attracting more negative experiences to us?
Well, I think that in the simplest of forms, what we think about, we bring about, or what we focus on grows. I really do believe that in one moment, if you shift your thought, I really do believe that you have the power to shift your reality in one thought. That's how powerful we are. That's how powerful I think. And for me, it's incredibly beautiful to know that I can shift my thought I can change my life. I can change the outcome of my life in one single moment. And that's powerful. If I choose to love myself right now, I can change the outcome of my life right now in this moment. So we radiate and we resonate. And most of the business coaching, if I'm doing business coaching with whoever, it really is about the whole person. It's the whole experience. It's mind, body, spirit, everything. It's not just, hey, I got a business goal and I'm going to set it and I'm going to go after it and kill myself over it.
Right.
It's actually, geez, what's going on in your personal life that's disrupting that arm of yourself called your business. So to make your business thrive, you have to look at what's going on in you and your personal life, your inner life, so that you're a reflection of that which you want to see in your business. It's about becoming. But yeah, law of attraction has to do with this, because every thought that you hold has an energy, it has a resonance, and it's like, I forget who says this. I think it might be Mike Dooley. He's got a new book out there.
Yeah,
Maybe he's talking about throwing throw the pitch, throw the pitch. So your pitch is, what are you thinking? So you're going to throw a pitch out to the field, and what's going to come back to you? So he's talking baseball analogy and metaphors. So. But that's what it has to do with law of attraction. It's what you focus on here. You're going to send out to that field, and that field is going to deliver it back to you. Maybe not in the ways that you think it's going to be delivered, but you will, in kind, receive some kind of a matching grant for what you're holding. So, inside job.
Yes, inside. Do you feel like that's what courage is? Courage is something we build up inside of ourselves before we can actually show the outward, symbols that people may think of as courageous?
Yeah. And if I was to say courage, let me think about this for a minute, because there's a part of me that says courage isn't something that you build up. It's something actually courageous is something that you already are. And it really is just it's kind of like loving yourself, or becoming more of the love that you are, as I like to say. But courageous is the same thing for me. It's just kind of peeling back that which you are not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's courageous. When you do that work, courage, like, within you, it really does. It shows up. And sometimes you have to, take steps. One of my favorite moments this year is I got all jacked up. This is another brutally honest moment. I got all jacked up about this little tiny thing that I had to do, because bravery for me and, building my wings on the way down and all that stuff that I embraced, it can look like when I left my secure social work counseling job and just said, I'm 100% coach now. That was ridiculous courage on my part, but it was still like, oh my God, I was so nervous that it took me weeks of like, blah! I was just like weeks to like feel like I didn't work there anymore and be like, pinch me, and but I have had the same experience of acts of bravery, even in sending an email, like I said, on a newsletter, or making a phone call and just saying, I'm going to unhook from what I think they think.
Right.
And so I remember sitting in front of my computer this year, a couple months ago, and literally I was like in tears. I'm like, am I actually going to make this invitation? This is crazy. I am so crazy right now.
Right.
Crazy courage. And I decided that not only was courageous something I already was, and it was just peeling back the layers to get to me, but that really that kind of bravery is a vibration, and it's about meeting up with your true self. And I just had to drop the head stuff, And I did it, and I was like, okay, I lived.
I survived, right.
I survived writing that email.
Right.
And so that was awesome. Yeah, that was awesome. And I, courageous every day. And it's a choice,
Yeah, I definitely get that.
Yeah.
Why do you think, you said that courageous is something that we already are? What are those layers that we have to peel back? Like, why do we put layers on top of our courage? Or what puts layers on top of our courage?
Why do we do that? I think we were born with an ego, and that ego came with us to have a journey.
Right.
And it's about coming back home to who you are, and part of who you are is already beautifully courageous. And when we're choosing to be courageous or brave, or we're stepping into that place where we're not going to allow ourselves to be held back, it's like lining up with your most powerful creative self.
Okay.
Your most powerful creative soul. And so we have to make friends with our ego. We have to nurture him or her, and we have to reveal who it is we truly are. And it takes some ego work. It takes working with those beliefs that we've unfortunately inherited along the way.
Right.
From whoever, family, friends, society, experiences, all that stuff that created the beliefs, in our head, all those beliefs that are tight and they look like this.
Right.
So we have to unwind, we have to unwind those beliefs and get back to who it is we are. And that's where true courage is. So.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
It's a big answer,
right?
But it's so this topic for me is like so incredibly soulful. I just can't talk about it without saying, oh wow, have you checked in with your inner being? You know what I mean?
Right.
Have we nurtured our ego? And have we peeled back and allowed ourselves to get in touch with who we really are, so that courage is more readily accessible? We can't walk across the bridge because we're not lined up with who we are. So that's why I do alignment work, because people can take steps and experiment and they can find the flow easier because they're closer to who they are. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense.
Yeah. I'm like, you're getting me. I know it, but I'm like, oh gosh, I hope I'm not like.
No. I love it. Yeah, and I'm trying to ask the questions that are necessary for other people to get it too. So I hope everyone's following along with us because this is some really powerful stuff. You may have to listen to it twice because.
Sorry. No, but it's true. It's if you can get that, accessing your courage is about peeling that back, that which you are not,
right,
and finding your alignment and taking action from that place. I think you're golden. Okay. I do. I think that's the golden bridge right there.
Okay. What
somewhere.
Does it feel like when you're acting out of fear as opposed to when you're acting out of your true courageous self? Like, could you just kind of talk about what are the differences? How do people know, okay, this is it? This is it.
Okay, how do I answer that? I'd like to say that it's not as fearful, but I don't think that's the answer. Okay. Because sometimes I feel really scared still and I'm taking action in it. Right? You're still getting on the interview with Kiana going, oh my gosh, I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth. Will they like me?
Right.
Right. So I think that as an entrepreneur, and I know that this is kind of that audience, creatives, I think that when you're really passionate about something, I think that your passion can pull you forward. So not only are you leaning in to being aligned with that which you really are and leaning into your courage, but I think you're also letting your heart's desires pull you. Okay. And there's a bit of a and when we create a vacuum, sometimes our courage is more accessible. And that's a whole nother big topic, but it's like, how do I say this? It's like, if I say vortex, does that make sense to you? If I say, it's like being near your vortex of good and well-being, So I think you can feel fearful and still be courageous and still be leaning into, and I still think you can have this multi-experience of fear and alignment and feeling courageous, and we have egos, and it's going to be a real confusing human experience, but when you're so passionate about something, and it pulls you forward, there's no stopping you, I always toyed with feel the fear and do it anyway. Susan Jeffers said that. And I was like, is that true? Like, is that true? Let me just press that button for myself. Maybe feel the fear and do it anyway. Sometimes no, but I think that I can't say across the board feel the fear and do it anyway, because I'd have to say, are you aligned with the vision? Does your heart sing? Does it feel like it's the most logical next step for you? Even though it's scary, does it feel like you're right here? So there's a lot of things that I would ask you about a personal situation if I was working with you.
Right.
But so feel the fear and do it anyway. Sometimes it's right. I felt the fear and I pushed the send button to the newsletter list. You know what I mean? But I also know that I work with people who are completely overhauling their life, and it's like, well, feel the fear and move across the country anyway. Maybe not. Okay. Maybe that's not right in this very moment. Maybe there's things that you need to work through in a journey right here that we need to do so that you can get to a place where it's still fearful, but it's not crippling.
Right. Okay.
So I think that there's a kind of a continuum of when that would be right for you. And if you're doing business, it's a lot easier than when you're making massive steps to move across the earth, and leave your family and friends to start up a new life. I mean, sometimes that takes some deliberate working through that your soul's calling for that's going to be part of your expansion. But hey, experiment with your emails, go for it, you know?
Right.
I mean, yeah, call up someone and take a risk and say, you know what, I was just inspired to call you today. I don't really know why.
Right.
Go for it.
Right.
That's stuff that I would be like, you know, feel the fear and do it anyway. But you might want to do a little alignment work first. Like, let me just peel back all the, you know, the conversation that I have in my head about how I'm not enough or how they might not like me or what would happen to me if someone in my world thought I was a little crazy. You know, would I be okay?
Right. Right.
So there's a lot of decision that goes on in the mind of, you know, the entrepreneur, the creative, when they're trying to work through life and business. You know, decisions can be overwhelming.
Yeah, definitely. And it sounds like it takes a lot of courage to even make some of those small steps. Like, we're not talking about huge things necessarily, but there's small steps to kind of get to more of a snowball effect in your life or in your business, right? Is that kind of what I'm
Right.
hearing from you? Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. You know, and we can't, I, what's a small step and what's a huge step for people.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, absolutely. I mean, small step. You know, and then you have to do your alignment work and figure out for yourself, you know, what will help pull you forward and how you can access your greatest self and be courageous even if you feel, you know, apprehensive. You know, sometimes just saying, "What's the worst that could happen?"
Right. Right.
is helpful. Yeah.
What are some of the things that you do, Lori, as far as like self-care to stay in alignment?
Say that again. As far
What are
as
some of the things you do as far as self-care to stay in alignment?
self-care is my favorite topic.
Oh.
Okay. Sometimes I need more self-care, honestly. One of my favorite things to do is I wind down every single night, almost without fail, with an awesome bath and quiet time. I have a huge need for quiet to restore, and that's really important to me. I love to, and I don't do this enough, but I do love to meditate, but I don't, in all honesty, I don't get it done as much in the summer because I've got the kids home.
Yeah.
And people would say, I would say, oh, make time for it. I would coach myself and say, make time for that. And I do, but I don't always get as much as I like.
Okay.
Reading feels like very much self-care to me, and I do a lot of reading. Not as much fiction as I'd like, but I do read a lot of self-help.
Oh, okay.
Mostly so that I can stay, I don't know, for myself, I think so I can stay aware of the focus that I want to hold.
Okay.
You know? My self-care, I eat wonderfully. I, you know, take amazing supplements. I, you know, help people on that journey as well. I do all kinds of physical things, but the emotional things, I listen to my intuition as much as humanly possible.
That's a good one.
I ask for what I need as much as humanly possible. I'm learning to be a better delegator.
Okay.
I'm like, you surprised me with that. So I'm like, let me think about this for a minute. How do I do that?
Great answers. Yeah.
No, it's really good.
And to be a good delegator, I never would have thought of that as self-care, but when you said it, I'm thinking, yeah, that's self-care, realizing that you need help and you need to delegate responsibilities. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really bad at not delegating.
Me too.
I'm working on
I
it.
can do it. I can do it all myself. Yeah.
What did you?
I said that's how
I
I
missed
am.
what you.
I'm just like, I can do it. I can do it all myself. You know.
So true.
Yeah.
So true. I know, right? You know, and I think I do. I know that I do other things. My self-care is more like emotional. Now, I have very little need for boundaries anymore because I have such good inner boundaries that I don't seem to attract people to my life that are that feel like real scoundrels to me and want to romp on me. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
So a long time ago, I said, you know what? If I had really good boundaries and I held them internally, I probably would not need to set them, and I would attract different people to my life who just respect that and who I am.
Okay.
And I have really good friends and a really beautiful family, and so that feels like good self-care to me, to like know that I am selective, with in making sure that I don't have people in my life that walk on me, because that was a pattern at one time.
Okay.
That was a pattern at one time, and so I just raised the bar.
Okay.
So I continually like emotionally raise the bar, and probably my best self-care is that when I feel myself going on a downward spiral, with that, that I'm not XYZ enough, whatever, fill in the blank. I make sure to try to zap that as quick as possible, because I really do know that when the day is done, that's the big one.
Okay.
So I think that there's probably others. That's it.
No,
That's
those
it.
are awesome.
I really think that all this work, so when you're doing personal transformation work, I think that it is all under the umbrella of self-care. When someone comes and says, I want to hire you as a coach, or can I join your group, or can I participate in this with you? Can I do that with you? That to me is care, and it's self appreciation. And it's really, I would make a distinction even that it's self-reverence, like deep self-reverence.
Okay.
And that, to me, is what it's all about. Because self-care feels like it's the surfacey stuff. Let's go get a massage.
Right.
No. When you learn to love and appreciate who you are and be self-reverent of who you are, that's a different emotional energy that we're holding. Much closer to courage than just self-care. You know what I mean? That courageousness that you are already. So just to make that distinction, I think that's why I'm big on physical self-care too. Very big, actually. But if you don't do the emotional self-care, you can wind up feeling just as off balance or just as out of alignment, or your business seriously can suffer horribly. And when I'm working with someone and they seem to, when there's a kink in what's coming their way, or they start experiencing issues, or they're like, why is all this happening to me? It feels to me like it's very directly related to the self-love work. So when that's not in place, the business suffers too. You wouldn't think that's hand in hand, but it really is. I see it all the time. I'm like, how's that piece going for you? They're like, oh yeah, I've been terrible. Oh yeah, I've been terrible. I'm like, okay, where do we need to clean up? Let's talk about, let's get back to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So pretty long answer to the short question, I'm sure.
That was awesome. No, all of that was great. So just talking about sort of the business along with personal transformation, this affects the bottom line, how your self-love, like, can you kind of talk about, because a lot of people wouldn't think that those two things are connected. How does that affect your bottom line, your ability to love yourself?
How does that affect your bottom line? So some people would say, and I would say this too, your self-worth is not your net worth. So I want to make that distinction. Because I don't really want to tie those things together for a reason. Because I don't want to set somebody up for failure that way. But I will say, and if you can follow my train of thought here, so when you're in true worthiness and when you're in true love and appreciation, you're a match to love. And love is energy, and it's kind of the energy of everything. And I could make the argument really quickly that abundance is the energy of love, right? That would be the same field of energy. Abundance is love. And I could make the argument that money is love. And so when you're flowing love to yourself, it's the same as really flowing any kind of energy to yourself. And if that's in the form of greenback, that works.
Right.
That's, in terms of the money that you manifest, the money that you allow to flow in your life. I think that everything comes from love. And when you're loving yourself, you're loving your business, you're making choices based on love, I think that you're going to end up more financially blessed.
Okay.
And in the same breath, I'll say your self-worth isn't your net worth, because I like that, because I don't want you basing your worthiness on what your bank account says.
Okay.
Nor do I want you loving yourself to make money. Because that feels counterintuitive to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not authentic.
It's not.
I want you to love yourself, to come back home to who you are, to step into your most powerful shoes as a creator. And if money is one of your intentions, awesome.
Right.
So there's a distinction there for me that I personally would draw. But I would like the floodgates of abundance and wealth and dollars, if that's what you desire, to flow to you. And I have to say that it starts with be the love that you are. Be that courageous, beautiful love that you are, and remove that which you're not, and grow your business as it is as an extension of you, and love it as such. And the money will flow to you.
You've mentioned a lot of courageous moments that you've had in your life. Could you tell us about your most courageous either moment or experience in life?
Yeah, there's lots of them. Having 4 babies by C-section.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Passed out every time.
Oh, wow.
8 IV needles. Boom, I'm down.
Wow.
I felt the fear and did it anyway.
Yeah. 4 times. Yeah.
4 times. Stepping off from being a social worker, like I said, and I was actually a counselor, and I worked with lots and lots of treatment foster homes. I supervised, I licensed them, I worked with the kids there, and there was a lot of security there for me for a long time. And then that changed, and it was just like my desire to be a coach just got bigger and bigger, and as that got bigger, things changed at that job, and at one point it was time for me to let go, but I was scared. I was really scared, and I also left a lot of friends at that job, and so I was sad about that. But I absolutely blessed the journey of that employment, but I was scared to death to leave, and when I did, it was crazy courage. It was crazy courage. So, but other moments, gosh. I think your listeners will appreciate experimenting, because I got a while ago, 10 years, I decided to really implement the word experimentation into my life.
Okay.
And from that belief, I think that I also created Butterfly Experiment, which is my manifestation course that I created. I think that's probably 7-ish years ago.
Okay.
And that was so unique. That was so unique that I was afraid that people would think that I didn't like have it going on, or they would say she's really fairy, or I was afraid of the judgment. But if I'm going to do the course on experimenting, and it came to me, it was given to me, it was really a gift from Spirit. I just know that. I just knew I had to honor it. But it was scary, because I, in and out, felt like, oh my gosh, what will people think of that? They will think I'm airy fairy.
Wow.
And not grounded. Instead of, this is miraculously spiritual work that I'm going to immerse myself in and come out a changed person.
Okay.
And for me to say, trust me, you're the butterfly. You know what I mean? Took some courage, because I was talking to, really successful business leaders, and entrepreneurs who, it was definitely a new take on creating their life and business.
Mm-hmm.
But
And this
I've
is
had some of the
before
most.
that became popular. This is before sort of this language became popular in our culture, right?
It was before that. I don't. Do you know when The Secret came out? Do you remember?
I feel like it maybe 2006, possibly.
It might have been. I mean, I've been teaching and coaching around manifestation forever and ever. Like it used to be when you typed in law of attraction, you got my website
Right.
back in the day.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I think I told you that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Not anymore, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I love The Secret because it allowed people to expand their awareness of my work.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, you know,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Um, And I think that butterfly experiment for me was like, I just want to teach people like the how. I want to teach them. I want to drop them into this experience, and I want to have butterflies be this beautiful distraction and line you up while you're really distracted, and then watch miracles happen.
Right.
Because that's the power of alignment.
Mm-hmm.
And but I did that, but my ego was pretty scared. And in and out of the years, while I had much of my focus on that, in and out of the years, it was on my website, off my website, on my website, off my website, on my website, off my, and I was just like, get over it.
Right.
Like, get over it.
I think that's so funny how something that could be so life changing for other people, it's like our gift, that thing that we're supposed to give to other people or to the world. We
Yeah.
can be so afraid and judge it so harshly. Like to hear you say this is just like amazing.
You're like, what?
All right.
I took that course.
I'm like, but it's
I didn't
like
hear any of that in that course.
right. It was like life changing for me because I knew the general gist of manifesting. But I feel like this took it so much deeper where I going through that training, I trained myself to know what it felt like when I was in alignment. And I had no idea before that. But I
It's
could
music to my
feel it
ears.
like that, like just like that. I knew whether I was in alignment or not. Yeah.
My goal. That was my goal, was to teach people the feeling and the space of alignment.
Mhm.
And I think, alignment, it's a space of grace. It's free floating. It's full acceptance. It's connection to something other than, our physical body. It's knowing that, this broad, beautiful spirit that you have is bigger than your physical body could even possibly contain.
Mhm.
And when you line up with her or him,
Mhm.
that's where your truth is. It just creates so much power. Yeah, when I laughed because a lot of people did that course. Either they guided group journey with me when I was offering it, or they did just the email course. At first it was just an email course, and a ton of people, thousands,
Wow.
thousands of people did that course.
Mhm.
And then I made it more into a little bit of a coaching program, and so it was a neat, so it's evolved. Like how do I want to bless the earth with this right now? I give it to my clients. I give it to my groups. It's like a nice guide or guiding post, so to speak. But yeah, mortified in many ways
Wow.
through the years, on and off, and so, but it was good. It was good. So now I can be in a complete place of detachment, and you've lived the journey when you're in a place of detachment. Like, it's good. All is good. Like full circle. And recently something came up around that course that was pretty cool for me. And it was another experiment in how can this touch the lives of a lot of people. And I just put it out there to the universe, and if it happens, cool. If not, that's all right too.
Right. Oh,
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we'll see.
For that. Yeah, we'll stay tuned for that.
We'll see.
So, Lori, if people want to get in touch with you, how do they contact you?
Well, you can go to my website, lorihamann.com, and there's a little connect button. And I should mention that I'm starting a new courageous thing coming September 1st. It's called the Manifestation 100.
Okay. sounds
And,
awesome.
yeah. And it's going to be light and it's going to be fun. And it's going to be a Facebook group that we're going to come together for 100 days
Okay.
and manifest our little, you know what's off.
Awesome. Awesome. And people can find out about that from your website too?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And actually, you can go to lorihammond.com/manifest100,
Okay.
manifestation 100. Oh, what is it? Did I write it down?
I can put
Hammond.
links below too. Yeah.
Do you put the link down? I'll
will.
send it to you. I'm almost
Okay.
positive it's manifestation 100.
Okay.
It's a free course that it's a free journey, I should say. It's really not a course, but it's a free journey, and we'll gather up on a Facebook group and share manifestation. And I'm going to be teaching and guiding and giving you resources to create your reality. So you'll see a lot of butterflies coming through there.
Awesome. Awesome. Very exciting. Well, thank you, Lori. I could talk to you for like another hour, but
Oh,
we
maybe get a coffee or something, you know?
Yeah, definitely. That was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing everything and sharing your vulnerability with us. And thank you a lot.
You're welcome.
All
All right.
Bye,
See you later.
everyone.
Bye.